My name is Emily Carter, and I live in Dallas, Texas. If you asked anyone about me a year ago, they'd probably describe me as a woman who seemed to have it all: a stable job in marketing, a beautiful suburban home, and a husband who had stood by me through some of the hardest years of my life. But what people didn't know was how reckless words, once spoken in anger or frustration, could burn everything down faster than fire. It all started one summer evening when my husband, Daniel Carter, came home later than usual. He worked as a civil engineer, the kind of man who took pride in projects that would last generations. He was steady, dependable, and far from flashy. That night, we had a small argument about groceries of all things. It was the sort of silly, mundane issue couples bicker about. But I was tired, stressed from work, and carrying bitterness in my heart I hadn't fully admitted. As we sat at the dinner table, I blurted out words that would change my life. "You know, Daniel, I only married you because real men weren't available at the time." I remember the way his fork froze halfway to his mouth, his eyes widening as if I had struck him. The silence that followed was unbearable. I had meant it as a jab, maybe even a poor attempt at humor mixed with my frustration. But the moment the words left my lips, I knew I had crossed an unforgivable line. Daniel didn't yell. He didn't argue back. He simply stood, placed his fork down, and said quietly, "That's how you see me?" I tried to backtrack, stammering excuses, but the damage was already done. He walked out of the dining room, and though he slept in the same house that night, something between us had broken. Over the following days, Daniel became distant. He still went to work, still fixed the leaky faucet in the bathroom, still mowed the lawn on Saturday mornings, but his warmth was gone. Conversations turned short, his laughter disappeared, and the gentle man who used to hold me close at night now lay on the edge of the bed, as if afraid to touch me. I told myself he would get over it, that time would heal. But instead, time only deepened the wound. A month later, Daniel asked me to sit down. His voice was calm, but his eyes carried the weight of finality. "Emily, I can't do this anymore. I loved you with everything I had, but if that's how you see me, if you think I'm just a substitute for the man you really wanted, then I don't want to be here. I deserve someone who values me." I begged him not to leave, promising it was just a mistake, words said without thought. But Daniel shook his head. "Words reveal the heart, Emily. And you showed me yours." He packed a suitcase and walked out of our home, leaving me with the echo of my own cruelty. At first, I believed he would come back. After all, marriages go through rough patches, right? But weeks turned into months, and Daniel never returned. Instead, I heard through mutual friends that he had met someone else, Jessica, a teacher at a local elementary school. She was kind, patient, and supportive, everything a man like Daniel deserved. The first time I saw them together was at the grocery store. I stood frozen in the cereal aisle, watching as Daniel reached for a box of Cheerios while Jessica laughed, touching his arm lightly. They looked like a couple deeply in sync, the kind of love I had once had but thrown away. The pain of seeing him with someone else was unbearable, but I couldn't blame him. I had been the one who cut him down. I had been the one who made him feel like less of a man when, in truth, he was more of a man than I had ever deserved. Alone in my quiet house, I began to reflect on everything. Why had I said those words? Why had I pushed away a man who had done nothing but love me? And the answer was painful. I had taken him for granted. In chasing an idea of perfection, in comparing him to men who didn't even exist in my life, I had destroyed the one relationship that truly mattered. I tried reaching out, sending messages, and even writing him letters. But Daniel never responded. One of our mutual friends later told me gently, "Emily, he's moved on. He's happy now. Maybe it's time you learn from this and find your own healing." The nights became the hardest. I would lie in bed, staring at the ceiling, remembering the way Daniel used to kiss my forehead before turning off the lights. I remembered his steady presence when my father passed away, his hands that held mine through tears, his patience when I doubted myself. And then, I remembered the words I had thrown at him like daggers. It has now been a year since Daniel left. He is married to Jessica, and they recently bought a house together. Sometimes, I still see glimpses of their life on social media. He looks happy, genuinely happy. And though it hurts, I can't help but feel grateful that he found someone who sees his worth, someone who loves him the way I should have. As for me, I am still learning. I started therapy to understand my patterns, to figure out why I used cruelty as a defense mechanism. I've taken up journaling, filling pages with regrets but also with lessons. I've learned that words matter, that respect is not optional in love, and that once trust is broken, it is nearly impossible to rebuild. The truth is, I lost the best man I ever had because I failed to honor him. And if there is any redemption in this story, it is that maybe someone else will hear it and remember to treasure the person standing beside them before it's too late. Daniel was not a backup plan. He was not a placeholder. He was the kind of man who built foundations, both in his work and in his love. And I, blinded by my own foolishness, let him slip away. Sometimes, late at night, I whisper into the silence, "I'm sorry, Daniel." Of course, he will never hear it. He has moved on to a life where apologies from me no longer matter. But I say it anyway because it is all I have left. In the end, I learned the hardest way possible that love is not guaranteed. It must be nurtured, respected, and spoken with kindness. Because once you break a heart that truly loves you, you may never get another chance. And that is how one sentence, just a few reckless words, cost me the love of my life.